splitting. Okay, so we go to 2000 now.
2000.
Yeah.
There too, there were a number of presidents. Lawrence has completed his constitutional 2 terms. And whether or not he was going to go became a big issue. And perhaps to allay people's fears, he adopted what I've called the anointed son formula. At Swedrow, he declared that if he had his own way, he would wish his new vice, Mills, to become the party's presidential candidate. And in fact, he did have his way. And at the end of the day, Mills became the candidate without any open challenge. Without any challenger. But it led to splits within the party. The NRP was formed. And the NRP will not win. It will, in fact, win only 1.2% of the presidential vote. But at the parliamentary level, it acted as a spoiler, causing the defeat of 6 NDC incumbents across 6 regions of this country. No third party or spoiler has done a job like the NRP has done. But if you just look at the figures, you think they didn't do much. In that election also, we had the highest number of 7 up to that time. It went into a runoff, and it produced the first alternation in power. For the first time, that power was going to change hands. We have the list of the presidential tickets. But more interesting was the results. At the end of the first round, Kufuor was leading by 48.1%. He got 5 other regions in addition to his traditional Ashanti and controlled as many as 105 constituencies. That was up by 30-something or 40-something from 63. Mills got 44.5 in 4 regions, which meant he lost 5 of the regions which his mentor had previously won. Mahama got 2.3, but he was successful in Bogatanga, Sisara, and Mamprusi. That is 1 constituency each in Northern, Eastern, and Upper West. The others were the also runs. But the good thing was that Danlate got 1%. Part of the reason for his 1% and beating Rekumbrobe was the fact that he was number 1. And if you study the results very well, and there were several areas where he got 1 because MPP was shouting Asieho, that is down. And NDC was saying Esroho. So people who wanted NDC voted for Danlate. There was still skirt and browse in 7 regions. But most interesting was the fact that 5 regions which had previously voted twice for the NDC shifted to the MPP. Brong-Ahafo, Central, Eastern, Greater Accra, and Western. As we shall find out, 4 of them, apart from Eastern, will always be with the winners. They are the swing regions, and we don't know how they are going to behave this time around. When it came to the runoff, Kufuor had the support of all the opposition groups, and he won comfortably with 56.9%, with Mills trailing 43.1%. Kufuor's votes from the first round to the second round improved in all regions. That for Mills dipped in all regions except Volta and Upper East. But most interestingly, Mills lost 16 out of the 17 constituencies in Central region. Many people did not take notice of that. So when it happened again in 2004, there was hula baloo. Kufuor's best performance or improvement were in the 3 northern regions. And that was largely because the PNC had performed well over there. 22 constituencies shifted from the first. Most of them voted for Mills, and they shifted to Kufuor in the second round. So the details of the two elections are also in colors.
And probably another thing we should note that at that point in 2000, when Kufuor won, he had actually run for a third time before he won, because he ran in 1992, 1996.
1992, he contested for the flag bearership of NPP and lost. 1996, he won the flag bearership but lost to Lawrence, and he made a third attempt. It is one of the things which is going to come up. My very last statement will be about that when we are looking at today's elections. In 2004, the situation was that MPP was going to face its first election in power, and NDC its first election out of power. And that situation will impact on the results. But also interesting was the creation of 30 new constituencies. 3 of the contestants were familiar names. The only new kid was Agude, who in that election, I think it was a presidential debate, said women were for comfort, and he suffered seriously for that. The results were 52% for Kufuor, so he won the first round. But it is important to note that in spite of whatever the Kufuor government had done in his first term, including HIPIC and all that, he could not add another region to what he had in 2000. Mills also lost, but he still maintained control of the 4 regions that he had before. The 2 also runs, you see what they have over there. And I have described MPP's victory of 52.5%. You will remember at some point they were feeling jittery, and they had to announce the results ahead of the Electoral Commission. So I have characterized their defeats, their victory, as a victory with a taste of defeat. The general impression was that they were going to win massively. People were talking about Kufuor winning 75%. So if he got only 52%, then it's a victory with a taste of defeat. On the other hand, the NDC, with all its troubles, out of power, confusion about the proper role of ex-President Lawrence, and all that. In fact, it had a national executive which was anti-Lawrence, and a presidential ticket which was pro-Lawrence. And that created internal hemorrhage. But in spite of all that, Mills got 44.6%, virtually the same as he had gotten in 2000. So I have characterized their defeat as a defeat with a taste of victory. And there was a sign that if they did their homework well, there could be victory in the next election.
So I'd want to imagine that in 2008 they did the homework well.
I guess so too.
So fast forward to 2008 now. What happened?
In 2008, the shoe was now on the other foot. The programs of incumbent party succession was this time for the MPP. And this time they did not adopt the anointed son formula. They rather went for the beauty contest formula. And you remember there were as many as 17 presidential aspirants. And I've written a paper to show that the eventual defeat of MPP in 2008 had a lot to do with the intra-party succession. Issues like why President Kufuor, for example, didn't publicly support his vice president, who has served him for 8 years, was one big issue. The fact that apparently President Kufuor supported Alan Cash was a fact which made other people look around and said, I've done so much for the party. So if it's Alan, then it could be me. And that is what went on. And at some stage, his press secretary also felt that he has been close to the president enough and he could also contest. In that election, there were 8 presidential candidates. At the end of the first round, we don't know whether there will be a first and second round this time, Nana Akufo-Addo, the MPP candidate, was leading by 49.1. But unlike his predecessor, he won clearly only in Ashanti and Eastern, and very narrowly in Brong-Ahafo and Western, and controlled only 110 constituencies. On the other hand, Mills, who was making a third attempt, a third visit to the shrine, made 47.9%, his best so far in all the 3 elections, controlled 6 regions and 120 constituencies. Let's not worry about the also runs. Some interesting things about the first round. Across the 5 regular presidential elections up to this time, this was the first time that MPP's vote has dipped. In all other presidential elections, they were improving. It was, like I've said, Mills' best performance as a presidential candidate, and the margin between the 2 frontrunners was the narrowest. And for the first time, the party whose candidate was leading the presidential was in the minority in parliament. And these were going to change the dynamics of the runoff away from that which we had in 2000. In actual fact, in 2008, some of the parties were not too sure which side to vote. PNC, for example, attended the National Congress to decide which side to support, and they came out. An executive meeting, they came out with 1919, so they couldn't decide which side to support. At the end of the day, time became the icebreaker. There were controversies in the first round, and so we couldn't hold the second round. And because there was a mathematical possibility that time could change the results, we had to wait and go into January to have that one. And at the end, and for the very, after 3 attempts, Mills won. This time in 8 regions. 2 of the swing votes, Brong-Ahafo and Western, which previously has narrowly supported Nana Akufo-Addo, said, why are we changing tradition? Let's do it. We've done it 2 elections, another 2 elections. Why are we changing? So in the second round, they went home with their brother twins, swing regions. And that was the most determining aspect of it. Mills' vote improved in all the 10 regions, like before in 2000. Akufo-Addo dipped in 5 and improved very marginally in 5 others. Nationally, he improved only by 0.7. It produced the narrowest of presidential victory, but we also have to take note that the MPP very nearly won with control of only 2 regions. That is also another important issue for today. But at the end of the day, we secured the 2 turnover. And I'm saying, Huntington will say, that is democratic consolidation. But I have my doubts, because democracy is more than mere elections. You can have pictures of the national summaries. We have put all of them in nice pictures for you. The first one is in figures, and the subsequent one is in party colors. let's show the party colors, how the parties are fair all this while. Let me quickly move to election 2012 now. It has its own peculiarities. For the first time, a sitting vice president has assumed the presidency to complete the unfinished term of his boss, and he is contesting for his first full term. An opposition challenger who lost by a hair's breadth is also in the race. There are several third parties, and their campaigns have been electrifying. Quite sadly, we missed an opportunity to have female presidential candidates for the first time. But the consolation is that there are 3 running mates on the trot. Before then, we had only 2 before. The number of presidential candidates, 8. But I said it could have gone beyond that if a number of them had not been disqualified. What we learn from this as we prepare to analyze the results of election 2012? It has always been a 2-horse race. In all the 5 elections, NDC and MPP share between them 90%. So the others can just be accurately described as also runs. MPP votes improved in all regular elections from 1992 to 2004, but dipped in 2008. So which way is it going today? NDC votes dipped in all regular elections from 1992 to 2000, stabilized in 2004, and improved in 2008. Which direction this time? The good people of the 3 regions, of the swing regions are there: Bronga Hafo, Central, Greater Accra, and Western. Central is most interesting over there. They do not vote on homeboy lines. On 2 occasions, they voted against their own brother, but they gave him the 3rd time. Which way will Central region go this time? It's quite crucial.
Mr. Frimpong, do you have any idea why Central region would behave that way?
I think Central region, you remember education started from there. So I think they are a most destabilized region, and they look at issues and the personalities rather than issues of ethnicity and identity. And I have my thumbs up for them. I think if all other regions will be voting like that, our politicians will sit up. Even in the parliamentary elections, they can change the way they are changing in the presidential elections.
Okay.
But there is a historical dimension to it. In 1969, they give all their 15 seats to Buzia and the Progress Party. In 1979, not a single seat over there was won by Victor Usu. So they are always looking at the issues. And I have said that Central region will vote the way it will, looking at the circumstances. So if you ask me how they are going to vote today, I cannot tell you. We only have to wait and see.
Sure. With the case of the Central region, you're talking about the fact that they vote on issues. In 2008, what would you say were the issues that got them to vote the way they did? And by the way, we can take questions from the floor. So if you have any questions at all, this is for the benefit, and this is for the benefit of those of you who were not around in 2008 when it was a really heated election and very, very close, and we were all into it. So if you have any questions at all, we could take your questions.
If you could even go back to 2000, part of the reason why Central region supported Kufuor against Mills was the general perception that Lawrence wanted to spend his 3rd term through Mills. They were not happy in 96 the way Accra had been treated, and that's why they voted against Lawrence by 10%, 10.8 in fact. Then they saw the anointed son formula as a way of Lawrence wanting to have his 3rd term. You remember it became vote for Mills and get Rawlings free. It was a popular dictum at the time. But when Kufuor took over and constructed the Cape Coast Road, which has been a trouble spot all this while, they felt they should reward him for that. And in fact, in that election, Kufuor won 17 out of the 19 constituencies. In 2008, I personally felt it was going to be too difficult for Central Region to stab their own brother, whom they have done 2 times already, and he has still come back to life. So if MPP wanted to win Central Region, they had to do something extra, but MPP got complacent. They said, we have 17 already. It's just a simple matter of going to have the remaining 2. And so all the problems about, is it petrol?
Oh yeah, petrol.
And
Premixed fuel.
Premixed fuel were ignored. It was only in the second round that they started doing something about that, and it was too late. So I think these were some of the factors which led to what happened.
Okay.
And this time we really don't know. I've told you, I really don't know how Central Region is going to.
We'll wait and see.
But whatever they do, it's going to be crucial for the final outcome.
Okay. So the very, very final set of the analysis the trend that has emerged over the period.
That is what I'm going on. In all those elections, a party which is apparently or with rare divided front has lost the elections. The Great Alliance in 1996 was crumbling over both parliamentary and presidential positions, and they lost. NDC in 2000 had its own problems, they lost. MPP had its own internal problems in 2008 and lost. So, lack of unity at the party front can be a source for recipe. We don't know whether it will work out this time again. Let me also end on the point that apart from Rawlings, Mills, and Kufuor and Mills, the presidential winners, could not make it in their first attempt. In this election, is the president going to be a Rawlings, or is Nana Addo going to be a Kufuor or a Mills? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And you have a last shot of the strongholds and the swing regions.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Frimpong, for that enlightenment that you provided us. If you have any questions, Mr. Frimpong, he's going to be taking those questions. Otherwise, we're going to be going for dinner. Do we have any questions at all? Are there any questions? Okay. Please come. Okay, you have the microphone there. Professor Korte. Please just tell us who you are.
The mic is not working. Oh, no, it's working now. Israel, my name is Alex Dodu. I work with the University of Ghana Medical School. I've had a very, very good analysis. On Friday nights, I can't get everything, but I'm sure you'll excuse that. The question I want to put to you, Israel, and the analysis, how do we see the 2012 election going? Importantly, how would we say the conduct has been? Has it been free? Has it been fair? And does it appear fair to all concerned?
Okay, maybe let me just start because I've been monitoring or following reports all day from our election headquarters at Multimedia. What can I say? The process, I'd say, has been fair. The main challenges that we've had has to do with the transportation or delays in the transportation of ballot boxes and election materials to the various polling stations. So it turned out that some of the polling stations actually started voting pretty late. Some as late as 2 o'clock. They still had not started, and we had all these problems all over the place. But you can't say that it is peculiar to a particular region or a particular stronghold of any party. So to that extent, I'd say, yes, it has been free and fair, or free so far. And again, we've conducted elections a number of times, and I think each time we improve in terms of the level of vigilance. People are very vigilant, and they keep on watching, or they're very keen to get to be sure that nobody gets to cheat them. And there are also some mechanisms or reforms that are inbuilt into the election, so there's always an improvement, and I think it makes our elections a lot better. The other problem that also has emerged in the 2012 election has to do with the verification machines, so that we're having, and this is the first time we're doing that. It's unprecedented for us that you need the verification machine, and you need to be verified, your thumb needs to be verified before you get to vote. And so the Electoral Commissioner, or the chairman of the Electoral Commission, made it clear that NV, no verification, no vote. And so that has been a bottleneck. That has been an issue for most, or a few, or quite a number of polling stations. And